We are here with Mark and Chris, who are the Maniac Pumpkin Carvers. They carve some serious pumpkins, and they're going to show us how.
So how did you guys get started?
We've always been kind of obsessed with Halloween. We were carving pumpkins for the places that we worked at. We put together a website and realized we had to take it to the next level.
What are you thinking of doing today? Want to show us?
We're going to do a skull, and instead of crossbones, it's going to be a fork and knife.
Nice.
We draw it out with a washable marker.
Super professional.
Exactly.
Marker.
There's more technical tools that we have, but...
And actually, one of the first steps to pumpkin carving was picking out a pumpkin,
Oh, right.
which is really important.
So what do you look for?
One of the most important things for the health of the pumpkin is the stem. You want it to be a little bit on the green side. Another mistake that people often make when carving a traditional jack-o'-lantern is cutting a hole around the stem. You're actually detaching the pumpkin from a lot of the nutrients that are still being provided to the pumpkin that are going to help it last longer. So when we're creating a Maniac Pumpkin lantern, we're actually cutting a hole out of the back and scooping it out of the back.
So here we have the drawing just about done. We've got a rough sketch. Now we can start carving. Our first step, I'm gonna start to outline the shapes. And these tools are great for making different markings on the skin of the pumpkin. You can get really fine lines with them.
And are there different widths? Because I noticed we have a couple of these. So
Yeah, so this one's great for, this is kind of a narrow V shape, and that's great for your fine lines. This one is a much wider square shaped tip, and then we have tools to fit each job that needs carving. Yeah, so right now I'm just kind of going around the outline of the skull.
So you're really just shaving off the skin.
It almost
Wow.
works like a vegetable peel there.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we have the flesh peeled away from that area, we can kind of go and start sculpting out the forms. So I'm going to switch, this has got two different sides, I'm going to switch to the pointier side and just start digging in to expose the roundness of the skull.
So actually what Mark's decided to do is kind of a cross between an etched pumpkin and a sculpted pumpkin, right?
This is kind of a hybrid. It's going to be partially etched, partially sculpted.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah,
Exactly.
a demonstration
Sketched.
of both.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the round side and create these eye sockets.
So do you have some sense of how deep the flesh goes, or are you just kind of crossing your fingers?
There are two ways to tell how thick the skin is and how much room you have to go. One way is by picking a pumpkin that's really heavy for its size. The other is the thickness of the stem relates directly to the thickness of the wall of the pumpkin. So when you have a nice thick stem like this, or even thicker, you know that the pumpkin is going to have a lot of room that you can carve deep into.
And then as you're sculpting the pumpkin, as you're working through the pulp, you'll start to feel as you're getting close to breaking through the pumpkin, because the pulp will start to become a little bit more fibrous and it'll start tearing.
So you guys must know more about the biological makeup of pumpkins than almost anyone out there.
We're pumpkinologists.
Do you have any tricks to keep them looking nice?
One thing we do is we'll spray them with a little bit of diluted lemon juice, almost like potatoes or apples. It helps keep it kind of fresh looking, and the vitamin C, I think, slows some of the oxidation, and it also helps keep mold from growing on it. We tell people, if you don't keep it on display for 24 hours, if you wrap it up and refrigerate it, or keep it someplace cool at least when it's on display, that really extends the life of the pumpkin.
And when you wrap it, what do you wrap it in? Paper
Plastic
towels,
wrap.
plastic wrap.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll also sometimes coat the exposed areas with a little bit of vaseline, which does also what the plastic wrap will do.
That's cool.
Now we're getting really deep shadows in the eye socket, which is nice.
This really looks like a skull. Amazing.
Thank you.
So you're using a different tool now that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, this is a little bit more of a specialized tool. This is a fruit carving knife from Thailand. But if you can't find something like this, you can use a sharp paring knife, or even a craft knife. Whatever gets the job done. The longer and thinner the blade is, it's better for pumpkin carving, because you want to be able to get into the fine details. Flexible is helpful. You don't want to try doing detail with your chef knife.
And Mark actually just recently showed me a neat trick that he was playing with a melon bowler. It's a different kind of jack-o'-lantern.
It's a great technique though that anybody can do at home
Yeah.
and have a little bit of a different look.
Yeah.
So have you tried any other fruits or vegetables, or are you stuck pretty much to pumpkins?
Well, we have carved watermelons and other squash and, played around with potatoes and apples, but, there's something magical about this big glowing orange ball. Every kid that passes by a pumpkin, whether it's carved or not, is like, pumpkin!
So what are your Halloween plans this year?
By the time Halloween comes around, we're normally so exhausted. After we get all of our orders out, we normally just crash. We collapse and sleep for 2 days.
This looks amazing to me, but I'm sure you have things you're looking for. How do you kind of know when you're done, when you're there?
That's always the tricky part. Having a sense of when you've accomplished your goals is a good thing. It's good to know when to stop. Get that shadow created underneath the cheekbone.
And then we'll get back to knowing when to stop.
Chris, do you want to take over on the fork and knife?
Sure.
There you go.
The pumpkin does bleed, and some juices have worn away the sketch. I'm just going to tighten the sketch up a little bit.
A washable marker is great. You don't want to leave a trace of your drawing after you're done with the carving. The one thing you want to stay away from is the Sharpies and the industrial markers, because those will never come off.
Of course, that's what I always used.
Yeah.
And then cut outside the lines.
Right.
So do you guys often tag team it on a pumpkin, or do you usually kind of each take ownership of each pumpkin?
We do like to team up. The portraits often get passed back and forth between the two of us, trying to make them perfect.
just right,
Yeah.
Actually, what might be cool is for the handle of this fork and knife to go back to the original bone. We
Oh,
modeled
yeah.
it off the skull and crossbone. Maybe the handles goes from the fork and knife blade, and the ends of the handles could be the bone. Still
a
go
great
back
idea.
to
That's
the bone.
cool. So do you guys do like classes or demonstrations?
We do a lot of live carving events, a lot of demonstrations. Getting the live feedback from people, it really reminds us why we enjoy it so much, especially seeing kids' reactions when they see us carving pumpkins.
Kids are the best.
It's so much fun.
This design might look really cool with a Food 52 brand going across the top.
Cool.
I would love that.
Do you have a card available?
I do,
or
actually,
that has
right here.
Another thing that we pride ourselves on, in addition to carving a great pumpkin, is really honoring a brand logo.
One thing that's helpful when you're doing the carvings, especially when you're doing the etch style, you kind of want to work, if you're right-handed, from right to left so that you're not rubbing off with your hand
Right.
all of the drawing.
Yeah.
Pumpkin carving is like tattooing, except the pumpkin doesn't flinch.
Originally we were thinking about hollowing this pumpkin out and putting a light inside, but for bright offices, a lot of times we don't light them up though because it's going to look almost better in natural light.
Yeah, I mean, this looks amazing as is.
When you have a design that's strong enough to stand on its own without being lit up, the pumpkin will actually last so much longer if you don't scoop it out.
Okay, I think it's ready for the big reveal.
Exciting. Ooh. It's amazing.
It's fantastic.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
We'll be keeping an eye out for pumpkin-inspired recipes on the website.
There will be many.